Alright, Disney Plus was just released this morning, and I just got done watching the first episode of The Mandalorian, and I want to just say, wow. And if you don't want to be spoiled in this episode, but ultimately, I just want to talk about my review of the first episode of The Mandalorian. And this video will not be as long as others because I am planning a full breakdown of the first episode of The Mandalorian. And to start, this gives us insight and a new look at the different aliens and species of Star Wars that we've never really seen before. Now the show starts with him collecting a bounty inside the bar, the same scene that we see in the trailer with him cutting that guy in half when he shot the door. And as a side note, the thing that I liked when he was on his way back after collecting the bounty from the bar, the guy who's driving him back to his ship plays in The Big Bang Theory. And if you're a fan like I am, that was the first thing you noticed when you saw him. Now the next thing that we see is Werner Herzog's character, who is simply known as the Client. Now what's interesting in this scene is that he tells him very little about the bounty he's trying to get, and he actually pays him up front. After this scene, we see him go back to the place where the rest of the Mandalorians, at least the ones that he's with, are staying at. And the female that we see, who looks like she's smithing something in the trailer, she's actually the leader of their Mandalorian group. And the thing that's interesting is that when he brings back the payment up front that he got from the Client, she says that this will go to help many families. Not much is alluded to after this. What I think is happening and what I can speculate, that they're trying to help Mandalorians from their planet. And now if this is true, then it provides a whole different insight into the Mandalorian, because we're led to believe that he has some morals, but he just does what needs to be done. Now as the show goes on towards the end, we actually see more of this. He has more morals than you might think. But this was an interesting part that just was kind of like, she said that this will help many families, and the Mandalorian says, good, because I once had a family. Now this is actually when we see the flashback what I think is him and his family running away from super battle droids, what was probably the Clone Wars era or sometime after it, because we do know that some battle droids lasted past the Jedi Purge. Now the next thing that I want to talk about briefly in this review is IG-11. Now, IG-11 was probably one of the most amazing characters that I've seen in combat. Holy cow. He's unlike any other droid that you've seen in the movies or in the TV shows when it comes to combat. Holy cow. But IG-11 appears towards the end of the first episode when the Mandalorian gets to where the bounty is being held at for the Client. And the thing after this is that IG-11 is ultimately portrayed as the comic relief in the first episode. And to me that was slightly disappointing because I expected, more like, for lack of a better word, badass character like IG-88 was. But ultimately I guess it doesn't matter because he was shot in the head by the Mandalorian. So his life was cut short. Ultimately I was hoping for a little bit more of IG-11, but don't get me wrong, I was still amazed by the show. Now when we actually see the Mandalorian get to the bounty, it totally blew my mind, because when we see him talking to the Client, he was told that it was a 50-year-old male. Now when we finally see the person he's trying to get after, it was the same species as Yoda. We don't know this character's name, but at 50 years old, I guess Yoda's species is still considered an infant. Now I know I didn't talk a lot about this show. Ultimately, I want to save a lot of it for the breakdown that's coming. Now I do want to say that we learned a lot about other alien species and the Mandalorian himself that ultimately give us insight into what kind of character this Mandalorian is going to be. And I'm super excited for the show. And this was just meant to be my initial review of the first episode. It was not scripted at all, which is a good thing and a bad thing, I can tell. But I just wanted to give my thoughts on the first episode. And I want to know what you think of the first episode in the comments down below. And if you haven't seen it yet, go see it. Disney Plus offers a 7-day free trial, so there's no reason as to why you can't see it. And if you want to see more Star Wars related content, then subscribe. And if you want to see my breakdown of The Mandalorian, then also subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next one.